The Crooked Moon books are finally out, both on D&D Beyond and elsewhere, and the book from the Legends of Avantris crew is massive, absolutely massive, which means it's got a lot of stuff to look at. I thought it would be fun to review it, as I am someone with multiple years of review experience. So today we're going to go take a quick look at some of the subclasses, the feats, the spells, everything really, and decide whether or not it's really worth the price tag, whether that is on D&D Beyond or elsewhere. So let's get to it, shall we? Once again, the transition, look at it, beautiful. Right, the Crooked Moon comes in two parts on D&D Beyond. You've got the player facing side, and then you've got the second one, which is the adventure book, basically. We're going to be mostly focusing on the player facing stuff, so the subclasses and species and things like that. There's a lot here, to say the least. The introduction goes over kind of what folk horror is, and also talks about a lot of the areas in this particular world, in this setting. We're going to largely ignore those, and we're just going to go straight for the species first. There are 13 different species in this book, which is a lot. And most of them aren't humans, or aren't humanoid at least. A lot of them come in other flavors, which is a lot of fun if that's what you're looking for. Most of these are kind of horror sub-themed, not a huge surprise, with them being things like gargoyles and werewolves and things of the sort. We're going to just take a quick look through them. So the first of these lot is the Ashbourne, which is basically your imp. It's your imps. They have lovely artwork with the violin and the scorpion tail, which is great. They're small, they've got 30 feet. I'm not going to go over all the details of all of these, really, because there's just too much to cover, and I don't want this to be like a 14-hour video. The long and the short of these is they get different impish spells as they go. You've obviously got dark vision, because of course you do, and you can actually make attacks just miss with your with your reaction, which is a lot of fun, along with also using your scorpion sting. The Azurborn, not Azureborn, harpies, basically. So you get a flying speed, which is lovely. You get guidance cantrip, which is just phenomenal, and you also get augury, which is a lot of fun if that's something that your DM likes playing around with. Once again, dark vision, you can boost initiative rolls, and you can increase your fly speed as well. Bogborn are your trolls, basically. They have my favorite thing about this is they do have the regeneration, which you can use as a bonus action and use your hit die, which is a lot of fun. But that doesn't work if you've been hit by acid or fire damage on that turn, which is great. The next one is the Curseborn, which is your werewolves, here shown with A, sick claw weapon, and B, sick bowler hat. You can actually curse people with your unarmed strikes here, which could make them a lot of fun for monks. Deepborn are your tentacle people. They are tentacle people. They're aberrations. They have swim speeds, which is useful, and they can breathe air and water, and they can do eldritch gibbering, which is super cool. Nullborn are trees. I really like the tree species, and in these third-party books, I think they're a lot of fun. This one, once again, can kind of grab people with different abilities, and you've got advantage to end grapple conditions like that. You can also gain tremor sense. Harvestborn are your scarecrows, so they're constructs, which means they don't need to eat, drink, or sleep. Actually, they only need 4 hours for a long rest, which is fun. Plagueborn are rats, which is great if you want to be a little rat guy. You get advantage against poison, basically, and any magical contagions. The Relicborn are the skeleton species of the book. They are undead, obviously, and they also have this wonderful artwork showing them off, the cool pirate skeleton lady. What's really fun about this is they've kind of leaned into the pirate theming here, and they're actually really good at performance checks. So the Relicborn will fit a swashbuckler or any kind of bard or something like that, because they can actually use their performance to give them advantage on their next attack. Spider people, sorry if you have arachnophobia. Sorry, Ben, if you're watching this. They can boost their AC, and obviously they get web spells as well, which is cool. We've then got the Stoneborn, which are the gargoyles. I really like this art. I mean, I like a lot of the art in this book. I had a quick look yesterday as it came out last night at the time of recording this. Just wonderful. The Stoneborn have this kind of cool... they have a fly speed equal to half their speed instead of just the normal amount, which makes sense because they're gargoyles, but they also have this ability to kind of predict fate and mess around with fate, which I think is a lot of fun. And then the final one is the Threadborn, which is the doll construct, puppets, and so on. They've got resistance to psychic damage because their brains are weird, and again, they don't need to eat or drink, which is pretty cool. And again, they get guidance as a cantrip. I cannot stress enough how good guidance is, especially for free. Making a species that starts with guidance a rogue, for example, gives you a huge boost to your skills in general, and is something that's definitely worth checking out. Let's move on to the subclasses, because there are 14 of them. One thing I really like about the way that they've done subclasses is they've actually given you a way to theme the ones that aren't from this book as folk horror. They've got this lovely table which suggests how to do that, and I think that's really great if you're wanting to play in this setting and still stick to the theming, but don't want to use the subclasses they've provided. That being said, with 14 subclasses, there's a lot of reason as to why you would want to do this. It is worth noting that while these are meant to work with both 2014 and 2024, as it stands on D&D Beyond, they only work with the 2024 classes. This is probably a bug, but it's definitely worth mentioning at this point. Because there's so many of these, I'm not going to go over absolutely everything. We're going to go over the level 3 abilities of these classes, and just over the general vibe, as well as if you look in the artwork. As it is alphabetical order, the best order, we do start with the Barbarian, and they've clearly gone for the whole Jekyll Hyde thing here, which is fantastic flavouring. So this is the Path of the Experiment, and it reads, barbarians following the Path of the Experiment supplement their rage with alchemical cocktails that surge through their bodies through syringes of tube and copper, steel and glass. These formulas enhance their ability to channel primal might, or perhaps because of the rage, they are the only people who can survive these chemicals. It's very Bane coded if you're a Batman fan, and this could be a great one to muck around with if that's what you want. It then states that the barbarian might have done this himself, or maybe it's been done to them, which is a wonderful RP hook. Whether or not you did it to yourself or if it was done to you, it could be a lot of fun. The level 3 abilities here, you've got alchemical experiments, which gives you a set of alchemist supplies, gives you proficiency in it, and it lets you use those supplies instead of a herbalism kit to craft potions of healing. This is a non-combat ability, which is super fun for the barbarian, and being able to craft potions of healing is useful, as it turns out. The main draw here at level 3, though, is obviously being able to use these syringes to augment yourself. You start with 3 options. Ferocity lets you ignore difficult terrain, and also lets you use the Cleave Mastery in addition to a different mastery property when you hit with a melee or an unarmed strike. I think there's a lot of fun there to multi-class that. Like a level 3 one of these with an otherwise monk build allows you to hit multiple opponents with your unarmed strikes, which could be beyond silly, which is great. Monstrosity lets you basically get bigger. It changes the way you look. It increases your reach by 5 feet, and if you miss on an attack that relies on strength, you can add your rage damage bonus to the total of the attack, potentially letting you hit. You also become large if you're not already large. Then you've got Reconstruction, which lets you roll a hit point die on each of your turns to gain health, and any excess health that you would gain becomes temporary health. You can actually switch between these 3 as a bonus action on your turn. This might be one of the more customizable and just generally on the fly changeable barbarian subclasses there are. Super fun flavor and incredibly cool early features as well. I'm absolutely fine to do full reviews of these subclasses if that's something you'd all be interested in, so do let me know if that's the case. For this video, just want to go over the early stuff to kind of give everyone a feel for it, and then obviously my thoughts on it. But yeah, as a quick look, this is an incredibly cool barbarian path. I am deeply enamored with it, and you can easily flavor this in plenty of other settings as well as this one. The Bard is one of my favorite classes, and the College of Whistles is the subclass here for the Crooked Moon. Once again, we get 2 level 3 features as along with the details, so let's go over the general flavour. All tales speak of the dangers of whistling. The hollow haunting pitches call to the spirits of the departed and invite them back to the world of the living. Bards of the College of Whistles take these stories and set them to their own warbling tunes. Tunes? Whistling forth their bardic magic and summoning spirits to aid their travels. They like the dead thing. I think this is good if you like the College of Spirits basically, but you want something different than the kind of roll on a table thing that the College of Spirits have. As much as I enjoy that subclass, and I do genuinely enjoy the subclass, this could be a little bit more reliable. The first of the 2 level 3 abilities is Handy Haints. Call forth a Vagabond Spirit basically. When you inspire a creature with Bardic Inspiration, you summon a little ghost that clings to them. The Haint has a 15-foot emanation from the target, vanishes after a minute or when you summon a new one, or when you use the reaction it gets you. When you summon this, so when you use your Bardic Inspiration to inspire someone, you can choose Grump, Sad Sack, or Scamp. Choose Grump, gives the inspired creature and all creatures of your choice within the emanation advantage against intimidation checks and advantage on strength saving throws. These aren't especially common, but it is pretty cool. You can also use your reaction to bolster the damage basically the inspired creature is doing. Sad Sack gives half cover to all creatures within the range of the emanation, which could be incredibly strong if you're against ranged targets. And you can use your reaction to reduce the damage. And then Scamp increases the speed of the creatures within the emanation, and if the creature that's inspired fails a saving throw, you can use your reaction to expend the Haint to let them reroll it. You've then got the kind of ribbon feature at this level, which is Whistling Wanderer. It lets you create a bindle out of any bag, sack, or similar container, which basically functions like a handy haversack. That's incredibly cool. You can also potentially use this to set traps, because if you make a second one or you get a certain distance away, everything in it spills out. So if you fill it with bombs, that's potentially a lot of fun. You can also whistle in place of your verbal components. Anything unfamiliar with this tradition must succeed on a DC 15 Arcana check to recognize what spell you're casting. This could be a lot of fun against counterspell. They can still counterspell even if they don't know the spell, but it means that they're less likely to react correctly, which is awesome. On to the Cleric now, which is the Harvest Domain. The Harvest Domain draws from the cycle beginning with creation, reaching abundance and ending in culling before repeating endlessly. Deities of farming and crops can focus on one of the harvest aspects, but most draw from each phase of the cycle. We love a good cyclical nature. I am a Dark Souls fan. You get 3 things sort of at level 3 here. So you gain a herbalism kit and get proficiency, and also proficiency in both the nature and survival skill. These are both skills which I think DMs need to put a little more effort in to work into games, but it's good to have. Your domain spell list changes whether or not you choose sowing, growing, or reaping, which you can change on every single rest you do, and that changes the spells you get. The spell list here looks pretty solid. A lot of these spells are new, and I don't know what they do yet, so I can't comment as to how good or bad they are. Generally speaking, sowing is kind of support, growing is healing and things like that, and then reaping is obviously damage. I love that you can become a damage dealer if you decide that there's a big battle coming up that your healing isn't going to be as important in. It's nice to be able to change that just when you rest, because a short rest obviously doesn't take long, especially if you take the spell that lets you short rest in 10 minutes. The final level 3 ability is Cornucopia. So the Cornucopia thing lets you basically bolster the healing that happens during a short rest. It's almost a ribbon feature, because I think most players tend to just roll hit die, but it could potentially save some of those hit die from other players, which is good. I think this is a really solid... The theming here is fantastic, and I think the ability to change between different things is really good. I really like classes, as you can probably tell from how I feel about the Barbarian one. I really like classes where you can switch things up fairly regularly. D&D is a game where you're generally stuck with your build for a long time, even though I do think you should let players respec, but that's my personal opinion, and I'm not your DM. Probably. So having classes like this that can switch between different kind of modes of play is great. The mix of spells in the spell list here are all pretty darn strong. So yeah, very cool stuff. Next, we've got the first of our 2 druid subclasses. I think this might be it's close to being my favourite of the subclasses from what I've read of it. The Circle of the Old Ways is favouring the heart of the darkest forest. Druids of the Circle of the Old Ways commune with ancient, forgotten entities that lurk within, calling forth truly primeval power to serve as defenders of the oldest and wildest places. They harness the power of elderwood trees, which are home to the souls of long-dead fae folk, and share their primordial wisdom and might when called upon. We once again get 3 features at level 3 here, with one of them being the Circle spell. You get Ancestral Communion, which is the only new spell on this list, and then you get Bark Skin, Shield of Faith, Shillelagh, Spike Growth. I mean, Spike Growth already makes this pretty much a 10 out of 10 spell list. I'm being a little hyperbolic, but Spike Growth is very good, as it turns out, and Shillelagh is important because it's kind of the core to the class, as you'll see. So next is Bow and Branch. Even the humblest of your weapons channels the might of the old forest. When you cast Shillelagh, you can cause a shield made of gnarled wood to grow into your free hand. You don't need to equip this, it comes equipped, so you can walk around without a shield and then kind of gain one when you need it, which is a lot of fun. It's a flavour thing, I think, more than anything else, but it is fun. Additionally, for the duration of the spell, you ignore somatic components of your druid spells, and the weapon enhanced by the spell becomes a druidic focus, so this allows you to kind of get in and hit stuff with your big stick, as well as having a cool shield. The final level 3 ability is Woodwoes. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't know that I've ever read that word before. As a bonus action, or as part of casting Shillelagh, you can expend one of your wild shapes to suffuse yourself with the power of primordial woods. Your AC becomes your Dex plus your Wisdom modifiers, so you get Monk AC, which isn't bad at all. When you hit a creature with your Shillelagh weapon, the target is covered in Elderwood sap until your next turn. While coated, the target has disadvantage on attack rolls against targets other than you, so this lets you tank, and it also gives you advantage on strength and constitution saving throws, which is great if you're holding constitution or if you're holding concentration on a spell. This lasts for 10 minutes, it ends if you dismiss it or become incapacitated or die. I just think a subclass that really focuses on a spell is a lot of fun. Shillelagh is one of those spells that I think is incredibly cool but generally underused, and I think that this as a general concept is just the coolest thing. So I am a huge fan of this as it stands. The other druid subclass, because there are two, is the Circle of Wicker. Cunning in their ancient art, druids of the Circle of Wicker fashion twig dolls and effigies, binding the magic into these crude forms. These creations often resemble animals, rune shapes, natural symbols, or people. Protective tokens and promises of retribution against trespassers are these druids' stock in trade, and you can weave the magic of the land through your wicking creations as boons to your friend and banes to your foes. We get 3 things here. Again, the order's different, which doesn't annoy me at all. The first of these 3 this time is the Bewitched Effigy. Basically, you can use your bonus action in a wild shape to create a Wicker effigy within 30 feet of yourself, which gets its own AC and HP, vulnerability and immunities as well, and it lasts for a minute or until destroyed. It radiates one of 3 different auras. The Sacrifice aura says that when a creature in the aura takes damage, you can take a reaction to deal fire damage to the creature equal to 1d8 plus your Wisdom modifier. Soothe allows you to heal a creature basically as it is created, and then as a bonus action as well. You can do this at X amount of times, equal to twice your spellcasting ability modifier, so up to 10 times basically at higher levels. Or Ward, which is possibly the best one, just gives you and your allies a +1 AC. The Wicker spells are again a mix of old and new, but the spell list includes Bless and Tiny Hut, and I think they're both really, really cool spells, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Hold Monster is obviously very strong, Death Ward is very, very good, and then we've got the new spells again, which I have not read up on because this book is just massive, frankly. Preposterously large. I think the Fighter is one of the strongest 24 classes, not just in terms of martials, and I appreciate that spellcasters have all the advantages and whatnot, but it's really strong. A lot of the new features really bolster its utility both in and outside of combat, and the 2024 subclasses are pretty darn potent. So this subclass is called the Baragard. Baragards are warriors who harness the power of the dead, taking upon themselves spectral energies normally forbidden to the living. Some Baragards are those returned from the dead through magical miracles of the whims of the god. Others stand at the doors of sacred crypts, ready to push back any who attempt to desecrate the dead. You just get the one level 3 ability here, but it's complicated. So the level 3 ability is called Death Knight. You house within you the lingering remnants of souls long departed, and their knowledge and experience imbue you with necromantic energy. We love a necromancer fighter. It's represented by the Draugr dice, which fuel powers you have from the subclass. The Baragard Draugr dice table shows the dice size. Yeah, so you got the table here. You get a bigger dice as you level up and more of them as you level up 2. It generally stays within parity of the dice size, sort of. It doesn't. I'm wrong. It's fine. It's pretty good though. God, this is a long feature. Some of your cool features expend Draugr dice, and you can't use the power if it requires one and you've used them all. That's fairly standard stuff. You regain 1 when you short rest, and you regain all when you long rest. The save DC for these is 8 plus your con modifier, so you can build a big tanky boy. At level 3, you get Dark Rider, Graveguard, and Soul Reaper. Dark Rider lets you manifest a ghostly steed that only you can mount using the Warhorse stat block, but it's undead. It has resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, and it can only take the dash, disengage, and dodge actions. When it takes the dash action, you can expend and roll a Draugr dice, and during the movement of that action, the steed's speed is increased by a number of feet equal to 5 times the number rolled. It lasts for an hour, or reduced to 0, or unless you're incapacitated or you die. Once you do this, you can't do it again until you've finished a short or long rest, or unless you expend a Draugr die to restore your use of it. It's worth noting, you do not need to spend any dice to summon the steed in the first place, just to boost its speed, which means this is the Fighter subclass to play if you like mounted combat. Graveguard lets you reduce damage by using a Draugr dice, plus your con mod, again, big tanky boy, and then Soul Reaper. Soul Reaper lets you swap out an attack for some ghostly hand attacks within 60 feet of you. You expend and roll a dice, the target must make a strength saving throw, and on a failure, takes necromantic damage of the Draugr dice roll plus your con modifier, and it's also grappled. On a save, it just takes half damage. Even at level 3, this is an incredibly wonderful attempt of the whole Death Knight as a playable class. Being able to just summon a warhorse because you feel like it, that also has resistance and stuff that you can ride and no one else can ride as well, gives you a lot of extra movement, I believe. Yeah, so it basically means that your movement goes from whatever your movement normally is to 60 feet instead, which is a lot, as it turns out. And it having resistance means that its lower health isn't as much of an issue, assuming people can even hit it. If you go down the mounted combatant route, you can redirect attacks to yourself. Because this subclass clearly wants you to build con, that means you can take those hits. Incredibly cool stuff. Monk is another favourite class of mine. I like the punching. I'm a simple man. What can I say? The monk class here is Warrior of the Pestilent Haze. Warriors of the Pestilent Haze draw plague into their very beings, folding it into their energy and becoming one with the disease. They get real ill, which is a lot like being a parent. Monks who follow this tradition wander, often following or even preceding waves of pestilence. Some walk with caution, their touch measured, unleashing sickness only where dense populations must be culled. Others revel in the miasma struggling. These are naughty monks. You can tell I'm a parent because I use the word naughty instead of something else. You get 2 things at level 3. The first of which is Contagious Discipline. You have brewed and concentrated disease within yourself and can now push that manifestations of it outwards. You gain the following benefits. Claws of Pestilence. Your nails grow into a set of vermin-like claws, and you can deal slashing damage when you hit with an unarmed strike instead of bludgeoning. When you hit a creature with your flurry of blows, you deal extra What? When you hit a creature with an attack granted for your flurry of blows, you deal extra necrotic damage equal to one roll of your martial arts die. So you just deal like double damage every time you hit. I didn't say X amount per turn, so that's pretty strong. I wonder if it was designed for the 2014 class where the monk really needed the help, and now in the 2024 class it doesn't need as much help. Still though, that's pretty solid. And then Miasmic Plague. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can expend focus points to force the creature to succeed on a constitution saving throw or be cursed for a minute. While cursed, the creature has the poisoned condition, takes extra necrotic damage from your unarmed strike equal to one roll of your martial arts die, and you can only take this once per turn. And then it repeats the save. Classic stuff. If you forego the extra damage granted by Claws of Pestilence, you can use this without paying a focus point. That means it's usable even if you have no focus points, which is going to be really, really good for level 3 monks and those kind of early tier 1, tier 2 kind of level play. The other monk level 3 ability is Gift of Pestilence. You get advantage on saving throws to avoid or end the poison condition or magical contagions, along with resistance to poison and necrotic damage. This is something the old monk sort of used to have anyway, and the new monk can focus up to get rid of the poison condition, but this is still useful. Not as useful as it would have been though. You can communicate with vermin, such as rats, pigeons, insects. You gain the ability to decipher their noises and motions. They lack the intelligence to convey or understand sophisticated concepts, but friendly vermin could relay what they've seen or heard in the recent past. Additionally, you can cast Animal Messenger to make a vermin. Is considered vermin thought? Okay, you can make a vermin to. You can talk to a vermin to talk to other people. I mean, that's a really fun ribbon feature. I think Monk is a really interesting class for this subclass. I think this is naturally something that a lot of people would view as being more of a ranger or a rogue ability. I like kind of like evil coded monk subclasses. Monks are obviously usually viewed as like this fount of this font of wisdom and all that is good and pure. So it's nice to have one where it's like this. The Paladin subclass is the Oath of Castigation. Evil and wickedness are widespread and long-lived, but not infinite. Paladins who swear the Oath of Castigation root evil out to burn it away utterly, giving light to all that is innocent and good. Whether bound by the laws of mortals, their deity, or their own personal code, they relentlessly hunt down evil where it thrives. Their aim is to burn away all doubt in the pursuit of duty, purge the wicked and corrupt, and spare the innocent, and sin is forgiven through suffering equal to the pain it inflicted. Dang, Mel. You get 3 abilities, and once again, the class spells are in a weird place. I'm fine. The first one is a Channel Divinity. You can clap those you would bring to justice in fiery shackles. Use number of creatures up to your charisma modifier. You can see within 30 feet of yourself. They must succeed on a strength save or be wrapped in fiery shackles and have their speed reduced to 0. You can then use a bonus action to burn them a little bit. After a minute, the creatures succeed automatically. That's a lot of fun, especially if you're really going for a high charisma. That's a really fun way to pin down, potentially 5 creatures. The other Channel Divinity is Insight. You have advantage on intelligence and wisdom. You have advantage on investigation and insight checks. You can use a bonus action to frighten a creature, and they can't lie when they're frightened. Divine Favor, inflict wounds, new spell, hold person, counterspell on a paladin's a lot of fun. Yeah, there's some cool stuff there. Very, 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 very cool. I like the flavor. It's kind of a classic. That like purging by flames paladin is a fairly classic archetype, so it's really cool to see it represented here. The ranger subclass is the Grim Harbinger, and in the art it has a ghost doggo. We love a ghost doggo. Grim Harbingers wander places touched by death, serving as both a watcher of the dead and herald of doom for those whose lives are running out. At the side is a guardian spirit and omen of death known as a Grim, constant companion that aids in performing their shared grave duty. They get 2 things. We've got spells, which they get Bane, Hold Person, Fear, Intrusive Despair, and Dream. Bane's great, but ranges are so complicated unless you're giving them free Hunter's Mark, like no concentration free Hunter's Mark. It's tricky, but we'll see what else the class has at level 3. As a bonus action, you target a creature within 90 feet of you and magically seal its doom for an hour. Once per turn, when you hit the doom creature, it takes an extra 1d6. So you can combine this with your Hunter's Mark, which is fun. In addition, a ghostly creature called the Grim appears in an unoccupied space within 30 feet of the target. The Grim is friendly to you and your allies, obeys your commands, it vanishes if you died or the doomed creature dies. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, and you'll gain all uses on a short or long rest. You can also expand a spells, blah 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 blah. It's fairly standard. In combat, the Grim acts during your turn. It can move and use its reaction on its own, but the only action it can take is a dodge action unless you use a bonus action to command it. So it's basically the Hunter, it's the Beastmaster kind of like vibe. You can also make it use the Omen of Doom, or to have it do the Ominous Rends. You can sacrifice one of your attacks when you attack. It is very... this does not link to the stat block. That's probably somewhere else. Cool. Evil Beastmaster. Not the strongest of the bunch, but hey-ho. Rogue Sinnerman. Vice clings to sinners like a second skin. Cheating, drunkenness, and games of chance are their bread and blood. That is a wonderful phrase. Bread and blood is a wonderful phrase. A scoundrel by nature, sin calls their name, and when whispers of malefic powers reach their ears, they listen. Those powers offer more than temptation. They grant the tools to deceive, steal, and even kill with a precision these rogues never dreamed of. Classic deal taking sin rogue. We get 2 level 3 features. The first is the Hexslinger. When you do damage to a creature with your sneak attack, you can unleash the power of your Jinxcraft. You can designate 2 of the dice before the roll. The total of roll in these dice affects... Okay, so you're rolling on a table basically, and it's charisma based as well. So that's fun. We'll look at the hex table in a second. And the other one is Get Jinxed, which gives you your Jinxcraft. You gain proficiency with 2 gaming sets of your choice. Playing cards and dice are recommended. As a 1-hour ritual using gaming set, you can create a Jinx weapon that channels your Jinxcraft. This weapon takes the form of a pistol or gaming set, which uses the pistol game statistics. You can gambit. It ignores the loading property, creates its own ammunition that deals force damage, and in gaming set form, yeah, you throw cards, dice, or other. You just yeet chess pieces at people. You can also imbue a weapon you have as your Jinx weapon too. So it's like the Hexblade Rogue. You also learn Dancing Lights, Mage Hand, Minor Illusion, Mysterious Presence, or Prestidigitation. Let's look at Mysterious Presence. I own that. Alright, in true D&D Beyond fashion, I can't see what the spell says, even though I obviously own this because I'm looking at it. Jinxes are... It's bell curve. We love a good bell curve. It can slow enemies down, make them take psychic damage, frighten condition, to run away, drops what it's holding, half speed, advantage. It's pretty cool. This is all fun stuff. Withered Arm isn't great. D20 tests that rely on strength. Good if using a strength weapon, I suppose. Sorcerer. The Sorcerer is one of my players' favourite classes. He just loves the ball that bounces Chromatic Orb so much, and also all the nonsense that the class can do. This is the Crimson Sorcery class, which is obviously going to be blood-themed. Crimson Sorcerers harness the ancient magic of blood and life essence. They twist and guide the flow of the quintessential energy as hunger grows deep within them. They hungy. They manipulate their power to infuse the vitality of others or can rip it away. Some were born with it, some it was Maybelline. Level 3, we get Bloodwell. You hold a reserve of vital energy called your Bloodwell, which you can use to empower your magic. When you deal damage or restore hit points to a creature, you can expend a Bloodwell to add 1d8 to their damage or to the healing. You get all of them when you finish a long rest, or when a creature... Oh, okay, so it's a singular thing. You can regain it if you deal 10 or more necrotic damage from you at one time. So you kind of want to be using necromantic spells. Alright, I still can't... I've tried fixing the spell thing, it's not working. You get a bunch of cool spells. Bloodbolt is a new cantrip, I believe, and obviously Vampiric Touch and Death Ward. So very necromancy. We are getting there. This is a lot of subclasses. Hope you're still enjoying this. The Warlock gets 2 patrons, and the Wizard gets 2 subclasses too. So that's pretty cool. Great Fool Patron. What horrors and sorrows can't be remedied with maniacal laughter? Warlocks that have made a pact with a great fool draw their enigmatic power from a powerful, otherworld being of jolly revelry, whose twisted sense of humour is lost on mortal understanding. So basically, it's Chuckles. If you've been watching Legends of Avantris, you can be a Chuckles patron. You get 2 abilities. You get the spells: Sky Self, Hideous Laughter, Rope Trick, Spiritual Weapon, Vicious Mockery, Blink, Stinking Cloud, Phantasmal Killer, Puppet Master, Arcane Hand, Mislead. All pretty cool stuff. And Killing Joke is your other level 3 ability. You see the humour in everything. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you takes damage or fails a saving throw, you can use your reaction to cast Vicious Mockery on the creature. You can use this a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier, and you regain use on a short rest and all uses on a long rest. From a pure flavor standpoint, that's an incredibly cool ability. I don't know how strong it is realistically, but an extra casting of Vicious Mockery is never a bad thing. The other one is the Horned King. Whether motivated by desperation or cunning, warlocks that have signed their name in the book of the Horned King have chosen to live deliciously in a pact sealed in blood and a corrupted soul, bestowed the power of witchcraft by the beast that stalks the deepest woods and darkest hearts. They perfect ancient rituals and weave maledictions, aims only they know. Animal Friendship, that's a really funny one to start off with. This is like an Eldritch Wood themed subclass. Bane, Spike Growth. Again, Spike Growth, 10 out of 10. And then we get Witch Mark. You can imbue a tiny magical object you're holding with a Witch Mark. You choose a spell that has a casting time of an action and a creature holding it. So you can, it's a spell storing thing. Like, here's a stone, it can cast Eldritch Blast. I actually can't remember if Eldritch Blast works because it's a cantrip, not prepared spell. I can't remember the rules on that off the top of my head. As a magic action, you can curse a creature you can see within 60 feet of you until the end of its next turn. Alternatively, when a creature within range targets you, you can use reaction to bestow it with a curse. Agony gives it a disadvantage on its next attack roll or constitution save to maintain concentration. Hate gives disadvantage on intelligence, wisdom, or charisma saving throws. Disadvantage on saving throws is really strong. And Rot means it takes more damage and can't heal for a bit. On to the wizard subclasses. The first wizard subclass is the Occultist. I don't know what my arm's doing with this. I randomly hurt my back yesterday. I might cut that out, we'll see. Wizardry urges the relentless pursuit of knowledge that pushes every boundary in search of greater power and understanding, but some boundaries are never meant to be crossed. That's where the Occultists come in, basically. We love some eldritch stuff. They get forbidden knowledge. You learn Deep Speech or another language of your choice, and you can choose a level 1 spell from the Warlock spell list, which is always prepared, and you can change that with a long rest. Oh, that's so many words. Intrusion gives you a special die, which increases. It can increase or decrease depending on the features you use. Size, maximum of your intrusion die is the starting size. It can be a D2, which increases blah, 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 blah. Okay. When you use a feature that risks intrusion, roll your intrusion dice. On a 2 or higher, no intrusion occurs. And the intrusion dice... Okay, so basically, these intrusions can happen, and they become increasingly more likely the less often they happen. On a 1, the intrusion die rises size in 1 step, and you roll on the table to determine what happens. Additionally, you can focus alien potency into your spells. When you cast a spell using a spell slot, you can risk intrusion to choose one of the following. You can give disadvantage on the first saving throw against it, and you can have advantage. So you can kind of do the innate sorcery thing. Where are the... Okay, this is the intrusion table, which is technically part of the level 6 feature. I think that might just be poorly formatted. It gives you negative effects. Some of them are like negative in a way that you can make advantage of, though. So yeah, that's cool. The Occultist is a really interesting one. I love some Eldritch Horror, as I'm sure many people do. So having a wizard subclass that's dedicated to that is interesting. I think wizard subclasses are a little too bland most of the time. So it's nice to see this one where it's got, you know, whole new mechanics and everything else. Also, the Warlock Wizard is a really fun bit of game design to explore. The final subclass, we did it. Philosophers have focused their study of wizardry on the fundamental nature of existence and reality. They seek the most quintessential truths of creation and manipulate those forces and substances through their alchemical practice. Through their understanding of deconstruction, reconstruction, and master the natural energies of the world and bend them to their will. 2 level 3 features. You gain Alchemist Surprise, which is a Hisoka ability from Hunter x Hunter. You gain a set of Alchemist Supplies. You have proficiency with it and can use it as an arcane focus. Additionally, you can use that instead of a normal tool to craft a magic item. You also get Quintessence. You learn a cantrip, which D&D Beyond is still confused about me having access to. Creature object you reduce to 0 hit points with the cantrip is destroyed. If the target was small or larger, it dissolves into a measure 1 ounce of crystalline powder called Quintessence. You can have Quintessence equal to twice your intelligence modifier at one time. If you create more, the oldest measure vanishes. You can use Quintessence to basically cover 100 gold of a material per quintessence. So that's potentially like 1200 gold if you 1000 gold if you max it all out and you use it all at once. You can craft and write spells for cheaper too. And when you cast a spell that deals damage, you can expend 1 quintessence to change the damage type of your spells to force. You can do a force ball instead of a fireball. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's just look at our little Henry VIII dude here. I think the subclasses are all in all, they seem really strong. Like I said, I will do a full review of this if that's something you're interested in. It's just that there's a lot, and I don't know how many people will sit through that. So if you're still here, let me know if that's something you want, and I will go through them all. They've all got tons of flavour. They all seem really interesting, and I think that's the best thing a subclass can be, personally. Power can be buffed using magic items or DM homebrew feats and all sorts of things, right? So interesting and flavour are the things I look for personally in subclasses. That being said, most of them do also seem pretty strong. So yeah, definitely a win. There's so much in this book. Let's quickly look at some of these other things, right? We get new backgrounds. It seems as though All of the abilities for these are just kind of whatever you want, which is great. Yeah, so they all come with new origin feats. It's gambling, or occultist. You can choose one with a Druskenvold dweller. Experiment, you get altered. So yeah, these are super, super cool. More backgrounds is always good. Let's take a look at a couple of the origin feats. There's only 2 general feats here. So it's really the origin feats where things are interested. Let's check out Altered first, we'll check out Altered and Charm Twister because they're both here. You can be augmented, and basically you can breathe underwater and get a swim speed. This is great if you're running an underwater campaign because then not everyone has to be sea elves or tritons. You can get better armor, you can have better natural weapons, or you can have dark vision if you don't normally have dark vision, or increase it by 30. That's really solid. And then Charm Twister is all about hexes. You can cast Bless. You have to weave a Wicker charm for someone to cast it on them specifically. So you have to give them necklaces. You have disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws from a creature that's holding a Wicker charm, and the charm might get blown up. Okay, Dark Bargains are a brand new thing. They're basically like the devil bargains you would normally get. We'll just look at the first one as an example. There are a bunch of these. Again, I cannot stress how much stuff is in this book. Remember, this is just the player-facing one, so this is just the part 1 of the book on D&D Beyond. There's just so much stuff. Let's see. Feral World... Okay, so Bestial Awakening lets you always have the Polymorph spell prepared. You can cast it without a spell slot, but only on yourself. You can cast it with the thing that you want to cast it with. Damage from silvered weapons also ignores. So it basically lets you be a werewolf of sorts, but with your preferred spells. I mean, that seems really strong, and I don't know how often you're going to be up against silver weapons. There's definitely something for the DM to muck around with. If you are hit with a silver weapon though, you can't regain any hit points until you finish a short or long rest. These are the spell lists. I'm just going to scroll through these because there are so many. Look at all these spells. These are all just the new ones. A lot of necromancy in here, unsurprisingly. Let's check out Bloodbolt and Dissolution specifically, because those were both ones that came up. The Bloodbolt is a cantrip. You hurl a twisting bolt of blood at a creature. Ranged attack. On a hit, it takes 1d6, and you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to your proficiency bonus. That's pretty cool. 90 foot range as well. Very, very cool. Dissolution. You touch a creature or non-magical object and break the substance down to its fundamental components. On a hit, the target takes 1d8, and its AC is reduced by 1 against the next attack roll made against it before the end of your next turn. And then with the wizard, the Philosopher Wizard, that means you can dissolve stuff. Let's check out the V spell. Not really sure why, it just feels like it's at the end, so why not? Veil of the Reaper. Concentration up to a minute. It's a bonus action on the Ranger, Sorcerer, Warlock, and Wizard spell lists. You wrap yourself in shadows that veil you between strikes. At the end of any turn in which you hit a creature with an attack roll, you gain the invisible condition until your next turn. Fun. Let's check out... there's no J spells. I guess we'll go with a G spell. Ghastly Charge, level 6 necromancy spell. You call forth the spirits of long dead knights, which charge forward in a 90-foot long, 20-foot wide line. Each creature in the line must make a wisdom saving throw. If they don't, they take 5d12 necrotic and have the frightened condition, and must immediately use its reaction to move as far away from you as possible. Last part I'm covering on the book 1 is the familiars. There are a bunch of new familiars too, including Gorndolly, Crooked Hair, the Devil's Glove, which is a creepy mushroom. That's fun. So these aren't meant to be just for spellcasters. So it's kind of a whole new mechanic basically, which you can use if you want to. You can cast spells. So it's sort of like a normal familiar but upgraded. What's the CR of these things? CR1. Dingpot. Great name. CR1. It's a little pot dude. Look at these. Ghost Spider. Creepy dog. That thing has no eyes. That's just a burb. Why is there just a magpie? Moonshine. Look at this little dude. He looks like Thomas the Tank Engine with attitude for some reason. Nameless thing. Raven. Salmon of Knowledge. Amazing. Incredible. Surrounded by a sphere of floating water that moves with it. It has resistance to... That's just really funny. Little Wicker dude. And then it's got a monster too. That's just Greco. You can't confuse me. I simply cannot go through all of this. This is book 2. This is the DM facing stuff. This has all of the monsters, which you can see here. This has items, cursed curios, fabled heirlooms, curses, music, more dark bargains, more spells. Let's look at the heirlooms. So these are weapons that kind of grow with you. basically. That's the aim of them anyway. So you can see that there are just a bunch of these as well. Let's go over the scythe. I like a scythe. Gets stronger depending on the rarity, and then depending on the rarity, it also has different abilities, basically. So, was once wielded by a harvest terror demon of secrets and fear. If it's rare, once during your turn, you can hit a creature that has the frightened condition, it takes an extra damage. More extra damage if it's legendary. You can also cast fear using the scythe, with no concentration required. That's really fun. Very rare, you can use a bonus action to force a creature that's scared to make a charisma saving throw. On a failed save, you learn a secret about it. That's great. Or you can take a bonus action to force one creature within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature gains the frightened condition. So again, more scare stuff. And then the legendary thing is, when a creature you can see that has the frightened condition ends within 60 feet of you, you can take a reaction to teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space that the frightened creature can see. So you can basically just chase this thing around with your scythe. That's really cool. There's a bunch of those. There's even more items, and there's some cool potions as well. It has brewing rules and expense rules, quirks for all of them. Drought of the Red Hunger, let's just go over this. This is a legendary one. You gain a Ravenous Thirst for Blood and gain the effect of a Vampiric Touch spell. Level 6 version, no concentration required for a minute. For the magic duration, it turns you into a vampire for a minute. I think The Crooked Moon might be one of the best third-party books on D&D Beyond, and it's incredibly obvious to see why it did so well on Kickstarter. Let's go back to my face. I think the stuff within this book is generally pretty darn impressive. I think the volume of stuff you're getting alone is worth the price. And whether you're getting the hard copy or you're going through D&D Beyond, I do think you're going to be getting your money's worth. Dual Bundle is pretty pricey on D&D Beyond. It's £70, I believe it was, or $70, but I don't regret buying it. And I don't think I'm going to regret buying it. Whether you're using the actual adventure or you're just using the items and splicing it into your world, there's just so much here. I think it's a sick book. I'm really excited to weave bits from this into my campaigns, and I think most of us use horror and in some capacity in our games, and I think this just adds more tools to our arsenal. So yeah, the Legends of Avantris folks did truly incredible work here, and I think this is a stellar release and might be one of the best D&D books of the year. So yeah, that's all. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. Also, let me know if you want more in-depth videos on any specific thing. I'm always happy to do so. And let me know if there's any other third-party books that you'd like me to check out, or any other books in general that you'd like me to check out. I'm going to be working my way through others, I think, as we go. But that is for another time. Until next time, please take care of yourselves. And yeah, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.